Hello, good people. Welcome to our show. Hello, bad people. Welcome to our show. Hello, guys. Welcome. Today we are going to discuss more about creating brand awareness, a powerful brand mission, how you find yours, because it's very important today. We can't rely on SEO, on digital marketing, or at any other channel if you have no your strong brand recognition. It's very important today. We can't rely on algorithms. Anything can change. But if you have your brand recognition, you can have a loyal audience. Can have loyal customers and go ahead. I'm so excited to discuss this topic with Angela Gronenthal. How are you?
I'm great. You said the last name perfectly, by the way. Congratulations.
Oh, it's my first time. I don't know how it happened. I can train 100 times and fail 100 times, but yeah, it happens, you know. so, uh, okay, Angela. Before we start, just tell more about yourself, experience, background, and anything that can help our listeners to learn more about you.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited. I was telling you backstage that this is the first time I'm with my new last name. So this is a very official for me. So a little bit about me and my background. I actually started off in fashion. I was a fashion stylist for many years in New York. And I think it's a very common passion for a lot of young girls, as you know. So I followed my dreams, went to Milan to study properly fashion, did a master's in fashion styling, landed in New York, and was doing that for 10 years. Super happy, like kind of oblivious to the world, as you can imagine. And at the 10-year mark, like something hit me, and it hit a lot of my peers at the same time about like, what are we doing? What value are we adding to the world? It felt like a very vapid, and I say this kindly because I love fashion, but like the particular bubble I was in was really judgmental, and harsh, and kind of like not really adding any value to the world. So quick jumps from that, and then head into, I went to B school, actually went to California, started my MBA, and essentially tried to buy myself 2 years. I didn't know what I wanted to do next. And I knew that I was good at marketing, or had a natural knack for marketing. So I wanted to study a little bit more. To get into B school, you have to really tell a story about yourself. So I leaned into the fashion background. I was like, oh, I want to apply to entertainment. And that led me to USC. While I was there, I found the same sort of things I didn't like about fashion at the time within the entertainment industry. And so I had to start from scratch again. Now I'm like in school, and I'm from the Bay Area. I thought, let me go back to like my Silicon Valley roots, my entrepreneur roots. What would I do if I had to start from over and like do my own company, or kind of like, yeah, what would I do? I figured I really wanted to add impact. So that became my storyline. That was my personal brand, was like adding impact. How am I going to do that? I'm going to find brands that I can align with, that hopefully will take a risk on me. What kind of companies are those? Well, at the time, it was not CPG and really legacy established brands. It was startups. Well, what startup in California or in LA specifically can I go for that will help me tell my story, help me kind of in a way, not erase, but translate my fashion background. And oddly enough, the company that took a chance on me was Tesla Motors. So Tesla was, had their own non-strategy marketing strategy, which is they don't adhere to a traditional marketing program, if you will. But what they do have is a very strong brand. So how do we leverage that brand to get people to actually buy into it, fanboy, fangirl, and hopefully at one point afford and get, spend their hard-earned money on like a car. This is before Model 3. This is before the mass market production car was out. So yeah, I loved my experience with Tesla. I loved creating impact. That became my through line. So while I was in school, I also co-founded a healthcare company called White Coat. That was also kind of like, again, adding impact. And I started to realize the power of being industry agnostic. Marketing, you can apply to any industry. Marketing, you can apply those principles to any any company, essentially, obviously. So I didn't feel pigeonholed within my within EVs or within fashion or within healthcare or whatever. So that became like my story, was like, how can I take these principles and apply them across different industries, knowing that my personal brand was impact.
Awesome. I love your story. Awesome. Awesome background. And I think people who love passion, they're so creative. I cooperate with many marketers, and I know if someone has the passion about fashion, it helps to be creative. It's very important in marketing. I don't know how to stand out from the rest without creativity, but in fashion, people know how to stand out from the rest because it's part of the job. Angela, can you tell about what can help could help you to push forward? I mean, like when you started your entrepreneurial journey, I know some people, especially from my audience, who dislike their jobs, but they need to pay bills. They need to pay bills. And
Yes.
according to data, 70% of people hate their jobs. It's a lot, And for me, it's important to be happy. And I don't care about money, about achievements if I'm not happy. I like to enjoy the process. So I can leave some money on the table, but I only go to the direction where I can feel happiness. And let me share my short story.
Please.
Yeah, I remember when I started one project because of chasing money. I didn't care about this project. I found the way how I can fill the market gap. And that was a big mistake. I hated Monday. I loved Friday and got it. I couldn't go ahead like this. And I gave up. I closed this project. I spent a lot of resources. I hired a lot of people. I fired all of them. But that was my mistake. And I learned from that to be happy. And when you shared your story, I get your energy. I get your energy that you are passionate about that. So, can you tell how you started? Why you started? Because it's a risk. You mentioned about risk. It's a big risk. 95% of new businesses fail. Why you decided to go overhead this number?
So, it's interesting. It is a luxury to like what you do, to love what you do, what any of the above. And most people, like you were saying in that statistic, they do live for the paycheck. They have to, and particularly, I think it's true everywhere, but it's very, very painfully true in America, because you really have to fend for yourself as with respect to like even your own healthcare, right? Um, which is why, like I failed to mention earlier, my current position is I'm back in healthcare again, and I couldn't be happier. I'm a VP of marketing at Nice Healthcare. And that's one of the, like, we understand the pain points of the American healthcare system and how people really do have to take it upon themselves to, for something that should be a human or basic right or basic need. Um, Having said that, it is a luxury, right? And how I propelled myself to go forward with that risk is I was very lucky. I'm not going to lie. I had a an escape plan. I had a parachute, if you will, and that was my family. So
Wow.
I come from Silicon Valley. I was raised in Palo Alto, very entrepreneurial family.
Mhm.
So my dad is a serial entrepreneur. He, founded a business and basically doing semiconductors in the perfect, talk about right time, right place, like immigrant story, very, very the goal immigrant to America story, right? And found himself in the Silicon Valley in the 80s and 90s and like hit a gold mine, quote unquote, with like being able to deliver a need. He identified the gap in the market. Now, the funny thing is that like his passion is architecture, but he identified a gap in the market and was like, I need to provide for my family. This is the gap in the market. I'm going to make it happen. And now because of that, he can now do his dream, which is development and architecture. So because of that, I came to my father with like, here are my choices after school. I've got this job lined up. I've got this thing I'm passionate about, which is I co-founded again the company that I co-founded. It's healthcare. I know, I have no experience in healthcare technically, but I'm passionate about the impact that we're making. and he essentially was like, if you jump and he's like he said jump, and if you fall, I'll catch you. So that was my parachute. For those who don't have that luxury, there's powers in micro steps, if you will. I think actually in this day and age, identifying your passion is almost the hard part. um, I myself have gone through a few existential crises of like, what do I even want to do? And that's how, it took me a very long to get here. It took, and sometimes I still explore. Sometimes I still revisit my journals and be like, am I not necessarily am I accomplishing what I wanted, but like, am I still lining up or aligned with who I thought I was going to be? Um, and so taking those micro steps and not seeing it as this really big thing, I've got to make this kind of money, or I've got to have this, whatever your goal is, whether it's like this prize, these people in my life, whatever the status. And then, yeah, if you can take it down into micro steps, I think that's very helpful. That's what's been helpful for me.
Awesome, awesome. I think you are a good storyteller. I like your stories.
Great.
you, you,
That's
you
also
know, it's part of our job to share stories. And, I think it's better to have passion than background, because if you have passion, you can acquire experience faster than someone without passion, because people who have uh, passion, they can learn on Saturday evening, on Sunday night, because
yeah,
it's like hobby, when you can not sacrifice your other hobbies, but you can enjoy the process of learning. And instead of watching TV, you can learn about healthcare, even if you have no experience. And I usually promote big brands in different niches. And once I helped one website in weight loss niche. I didn't know anything about that, but I spent time to learn about weight loss. And I found one secret: the best way to lose weight is to drink water.
yeah. Actually reminds me to take a sip. But the interesting thing is, like with respect to like marketing, when the company's like, when let's say your boss's goal is like, I want to go viral, make me go
Mhm.
viral. That's not the right way to phrase it, and that will never work. And if you'll see, like, you know the content that resonates is like passionate content that people made for them, not because to sell something or to like because on the behalf of a company. You know what I'm trying to say? So like that rings true. And I think with this generation, like we have to be very careful, because um the difference between like Gen Z and millennials, when it comes to being sold to, there's a big nuance. And Gen Z is whip smart, and they can read right through you when you don't have messaging or passion behind what your content is.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. We have the question about your marketing strategy, especially if we wanna touch brand mission. Can you tell how to unite marketing strategy to stand out from the rest and think about creating this brand awareness and brand mission?
So brand awareness and so brand mission, it all starts from that. I think as powerfully, like quite honestly, there's a difference between like I have cute things I want to sell, and I don't have a mission behind it. And I just like I have a boutique, an online store, and I'm just going to make some things and I want to sell them, and that's fine too. And you can make a lot of money doing that. But when you want to take when you want brand loyalty, and when you take your audience on a journey with you, like they have to believe. And so if um, you know, start crafting your brand mission, you start there, like who's your audience, the stuff you can find online, like this is not groundbreaking stuff, but who's your audience, like what moves the needle for you.
It's my dogs. They usually take part on my podcast.
Okay. Hi puppers. And so and then you start layering it with like with different things that are okay. I'm going to talk about Gen Z, for instance. Like for them, social issues and activism is part of the brand mission. Like the days of not having a voice when it comes to that stuff, or not putting your money where where it should be, quote unquote. Like they follow the money. So like your brand mission and values have to be so lock tight, airtight, because it cannot be performative. So if you say a thing but you donate to the wrong organization, your brand mission, like your brand mission and your marketing strategy and your output do not align. So for me, transparency, the and like in your brand mission, like be strong, whatever you stand for, be strong in what you stand for, and the rest will sort of follow, if that makes sense. So I usually start with that, and that's even how I choose the companies I work with. I need to believe in the brand mission. I need to believe in the CEO and the C-suite, the leadership team specifically, who they are as people in their personal lives. Like if they are performing while they're at work, or they really believe. So like that to me is all very important, and like it shows, right? It shows when, like what you're saying, identifying a gap in the market. It shows when someone works for you or works with you and they're just identifying a gap in the market, or they're just doing a job versus like fueling their passion as a career.
Nice, nice. Love it, love it. Angela, I want to ask about crazy brand mission, or when we have the feeling it's impossible. For example, I remember, for example, Sony. Sony, after the Second World War, decided to change the picture of Japan because of what happened. And the second, all world thought that Japan can create only poor quality products. So Sony decided to change this picture to create new technologies that can surprise the world, that was created in Japan. For example, you mentioned about Tesla. Elon Musk has the goal to achieve the moon. It's like impossible for most of us, but Elon Musk lives with this dream, and I think it's a good idea to have such missions. What do you think? If small entrepreneurs, small businesses can create such missions, but it looks impossible, but I don't know. Probably it can encourage you to work hard every single day and surprise others. What do you think about that?
I mean, that's the goal, right? Because you really do need, that's what I was saying about micro steps. Like you should have this like moonshot goal, like this like over like borderline impossible goal, and then work towards it. Like Elon, like he's, for better for worse, like he's a great example of accomplishing that. I don't think he, I don't think he woke up one day and was like, or maybe he did. Maybe he woke up one day and was like, I want to go to Mars. But it wasn't just talk. It wasn't just lip service. Like he's working towards those things. And those are micro steps. Like, a transportation micro step was Tesla. The next micro step was SpaceX. Do you know what I mean? So like he's, it's a good example of like lofty ideas that might sound crazy to someone, but working towards them.
Nice. Yeah, I think Elon Musk achieved today a lot than a million people can do it. But yeah, I think he needs to find motivation to go ahead. And yeah, I hope he will achieve the moon. Why not? Yeah, it will be a big step for humanity. Angela, I want to ask about creating brand awareness. Can you tell? Of course, I don't like the best practices, the best way, but for example, how to find the best way for specific company to create brand awareness from your experience?
So it's interesting because, marketing, you have the marketing mix, right? So you've got PR, events, social, digital, um, collateral, brand itself, and you just pull the levers. So everyone essentially has the same playbook or like matrix, and you just have to decide what, let's say, like of your pie, how much of your resource goes to each of these levers. And it depends on if you're like a B2B or B2C company or B2B2C, but essentially it starts with who is your freaking audience. And for a lot of people, I think they don't spend enough time really understanding their audience. So you know, like I said, I lived in New York. I now live in LA, and it's a very like I'm always on social media. So I would think because I'm always in social media, like most people apply their marketing strategy as if they themselves are the audience, but you're not always your company's audience. So so like I remember my first big mistake, huge, was we had a social media budget, right? We were this is for White Coat, was like doing healthcare again. And so we spent all this money on social media, on Facebook ads, digital marketing, et cetera, because like that's how it would sell to me, right? Because like I'm like, well, I'm always on these things, and why wouldn't anyone else be on these things? But didn't dawn on me that when you're sick, you're not scrolling for your doctor, you're not looking for your healthcare solution on social media. You're doing other, you're like googling, you're like on WebMD, you're like trying to fix it yourself, but you yourself are not going to like look for your doctor on social media. This is like 2013 timeframe, 2014 timeframe. So things are a little bit different now. There are doctors that have social media presence, and that is like the currency of today and the future. But understanding where your audience actually is. So if you are marketing to people who are not digitally savvy or not tech savvy, or they value, let's say they value family and religion, but you're like holding happy hours for them, like that, those two don't make sense, right? So things that work for you may not work for your audience. So knowing your audience really well, putting yourself in their shoes, putting yourself in their mind, their mindset, understanding what's important to them is I think the key. It's funny because people think like how do like right now we're advertising or marketing towards a market that I Angela know nothing about, but because I'm putting myself in, I'm doing the research, putting in the work, and putting myself in their shoes, I'm seeing like, oh, I like my assumptions that I had about the marketing mix that I was telling you about, though that formula doesn't work here, and why, and now I understand why. So I think like understanding, like you have to learn the rules in order to break them, right? So like you learn all this marketing stuff, marketing mix stuff, but then you understand which levers to pull when you realize who your audience actually is.
Love it. Awesome. Yeah, I agree. We need to create everything for your audience, ideal customer profile. And Angela, I want to ask about one interesting thing. For example, if we are talking about content marketing, I know that people are not ready to pay $1 for prevention, but they will pay $1,000 for treatment. Now, and healthcare probably is on the same boat, because I can't think about healthcare today, but tomorrow something can happen, and I need to think about that. So can you tell how to create sales funnel for people who don't expect, don't think about that, but it's life, we don't know, it's unpredictable, something can bring new surprises to us, bad surprises, but we need to I don't know, to move fast to decide them. So I mean, like, for example, let me share an example about a lawyer, and he found that most of his clients play golf. So he started to create content about golf, and to submit call to action to get $1 million contracts because of taking his clients when they learn about golf. So can you tell about creating sales funnel for healthcare?
Yeah, and I think what you said just right now about no one wants to spend $1 to prevent, but they'll throw money at the problem when it becomes a problem to solve, is so like chef's kiss. Like that's so apt, because that is the, I think, one of the root issues of healthcare in general, because of the way that America's framed it, right? In other countries, healthcare is treated as a preventative thing. And so how do we get to what we are? It's also like how things are being kind of paid out. So how do we get the philosophy of that applied over here? We are Nice Healthcare's to be clear, is where I work now, is we're a B2B company. And so our sales funnel it's interesting. Healthcare is not something that's like a direct, in America, you don't just go to healthcare directly. You work with a broker, you work with a third party to receive your healthcare solutions. So I don't know if you're frozen, if I'm frozen. Are we good? Um, but at any rate, so that's like essentially having a third party or external sales force on your behalf, which I think is really powerful for them, like getting them trained up on what we do inside and out, like them being involved in the services as well, like they know what they themselves are, have user services. Like that is because word of mouth will never go out of style, right? Like when someone actually like is a believer because their lives were changed from like your service or your product, like that kind of advocacy will always be one of the most powerful tools that a marketer can have, like hearing it from someone's mouth, like how the experience affected them. But essentially, so like, yeah, like that marketing mix I was telling you about, like we have to pull those levers. We have to get PR involved. We have to get, digital assets involved, et cetera, along with to accompany what our external sales team is doing. Now, getting patients, the ultimate end user is going to be the patient, but getting them to understand why it's so important to be proactive about your health and treat it from a preventative state is we actually do have studies, and we've created white papers, right, about what preventative health can do, like how much money it can prevent down the road if you just take these few steps now. um, we have to put it in very non we have to put it in like layman's terms, in marketing materials that like speak to the patient. They don't want to read like a statistical graph. They don't want to have homework. So how do we create this content pieces for them? How do we trickle out um, the learnings so that they can like kind of like come to the conclusion themselves in a way, right? And yeah, so we have like a program around like like with touch points, with different touch points along the way to reinforce our messaging.
Nice, nice, valuable. Uh, I wanna ask about your management style. You're VIP marketer. Can you tell how to manage a team of marketers? Because I often do it. I love to learn from others because I work globally. I have people in my team. I outsource marketers if I have no experience in my team. So, for example, I cooperate with PR experts, with social media experts. It works well. And I know it's not simple to manage them, to encourage, to get great results. It takes time. So tell about your management style, how you can encourage people to go ahead.
I I love my management style, I have to say. Or I feel very proud of the leader that I am, and I say that because I have gotten a lot of unsolicited feedback about what uh, I mean from my own team and from others looking in about like how I manage my team. I'm proud of our work output and our team camaraderie, etc. So my style, um, I have a so even though I'm a marketer, I have an operations mind. So my kind of like where I started off and doing marketing in the beginning, before I kind of like found my zone, was a lot of marketing operations, right? So like I am very logical, very rational. And when you know, I well, one, it starts with a hire. Who are you hiring? Sometimes you don't have the luxury. You have to just throw a body at the problem. You just want someone who just like can like work on a team, and you'll train them along the way. um and if you can see that potential in someone, fantastic, fantastic, and how they want to be nurtured, and how they want to grow. I built a team, I guess last and is it 2 years ago? Maybe like a year and a half, 2 years ago. And the team chemistry was like on fire. And I think a lot of it had to do with, um, I had someone who was like my right hand. It was just the two of us for a very long time. And when we got the go ahead to build out a team, I empowered this person to also to make the decision with me. It wasn't that he just like woke up one day and was like, here's a new teammate. So he was part of the process. And because we could figure out the team chemistry together, there was no, that hurt feelings. And it was just only positivity and only, wanted to grow. And in addition to that, after this is, you have to hire them before you ask them. But after they were hired, I have them take like I think it's called Clifton Strengths Test. So to have them take like a strengths test, so and shared my results. So I put them on a matrix to see like where our weak points are, where our strong points are, where we overlap, where there was like some gaping holes, and from that like start to understand like how they wanted to be communicated to, how they wanted to learn and grow, what would motivate them each individually as a team as well, but also individually, because not everyone has the same motivator, right? So some people it's like for them they need public, very visible affirmation. So, we have this awesome channel at Nice Healthcare where I very vocally will talk about like someone's accomplishments. Some it's like I don't care if if the company sees it, but I care if leadership sees it. So then I'll give them opportunities to present to leadership. Like we have executive meetings, leadership meetings. If they're working on a really cool project needs more eyes on it, and it's like, show this off. I don't have ego about, I know I didn't do this work, but we all helped because you're part of the team, but like, I'm going to give you your flowers. Come present to the CEO and the C-suite your work. And when they started to see like, oh, like usually my boss takes all the credit and I never meet leadership, but I'm very transparent. I open up the doors, and if that's something to them, like a track to leadership, like I will help them take those steps. So for me, like gaining trust, and like a two-way trust is really important. Transparency is very important. My team, like anything that like they need to know, I told them right away. So it was never kind of like, well, I had no idea that was coming. So it's, really important. And that's, I think, why I had a really successful team.
Awesome. Yeah, I wanna be part of this team.
Yeah. What's your style like?
Yeah. Uh, I want to ask about mistakes. For example, I found that it's important to do mistakes, and I do a lot of mistakes. I made a lot of terrible mistakes, some of them slight mistakes, but I keep doing them. And I usually start myself almost everything. When I started PR, I failed. I wrote a bunch of press releases. I failed with all of them. I pitched all of them and fail again and again and again. But I learned how it works. I learned how the process looks like. And I hired specialists who can write great press releases. And many of them can write for Forbes, Bloomberg. We usually help investing and trading websites. And then I learn how to pitch them and cooperate with experts who can do it. So I sometimes you can feel I'm jack of all trades, master of none, because I can touch almost everything, but fail, but I know how control and manage others. And I usually tell my team, do mistakes as well. Just make any mistakes. It doesn't matter, because you can't be creative without doing mistakes. Even if something works, your goal is to get double results, for example. So tell mistakes that you can make, and how you can learn from them. I mean, like how analyze, measure results, and think how to make next time differently, much better.
Sure. So I'm similar to you, the sort of like jack of all trades, master of none. But that's okay, because to your point, like we create the teams, we build the teams to fill the gaps for us, and to that their specialty is our weakness, right? And so, yeah, like I encourage mistakes as well. It's just interesting because our company also encourages mistakes. We have an oops channel. So this oops channel is where everyone puts in their like what their if they had a mistake that they made. And it could be little or big, but the point is it's like a safe space, it's transparency, and that people can learn, oh, I was going to do that too. So when they see this, when they see that like making a mistake is no big deal, it's not that like, oh, keep making mistakes. It's like it's that share so that no one else hides it, because sometimes like when you make a mistake and you hide it, you suppress it. If you don't address it, it just compounds and becomes a bigger thing that you have to. It's the same thing as being proactive versus prevent versus like, you know, what you're saying about healthcare. Like if you're not proactive about it, you'll deal with a bigger problem down the road. If you're not proactive about your mistake, owning up to it, understanding that it was a mistake, by the time you want to talk about it, it'll probably be a much bigger one. So yeah, we have a very loving and safe space culture when it comes to that kind of stuff here. And I try to apply it to my team as well. It was hard for me because I am a perfectionist, and I don't like admitting when I make mistakes. But it's a change that I've happily evolved with, like from being at this company, embracing the mistakes. Now, you by measurement, like we hope that you don't make the same mistake again. Like you hopefully will make the one time or maybe one or two times. But if we're seeing in the oops channel, you're constantly saying the same thing, that's probably not a good look, right? And you know, we have to test stuff all the time. We have to test our messaging all the time. And so, you know, I believe in small tests, putting small resources against it, and you know, when figuring out if it's like a fail fast strategy. If it doesn't work, fail it fast, move on. Do not try to make fetch happen. I think you're frozen, but I'm not sure. Anatoly. I'm going to stop my camera for now until he shows back up, but I don't know if there's any chats with anyone.